Welcome. From is a REALME X50 5G version, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a brief overview of the device. So let's pop it open and see what we get in the box. It looks like it's the typical REALME boxing, as you can see. Nothing really fancy, nothing has changed here. And we got the little booklets. Welcome to REALME family, REALME branding. Inside we get paperwork. No one really cares about this. We also have a casing, so that's nice. We're gonna set that to the side and come back to it shortly. Inside we get the phone. Now it's already set up, so we're gonna get into it in a moment. Let's pop it out of this. Then under this little piece of paper we get the Type-C cable, so it's Type A to Type-C with yellow branding, exactly like OnePlus does with their accessories, but just instead of being red it's yellow. Now the cables and the charger look almost, not almost, they are exactly the same as OnePlus. Now I believe they are basically manufactured probably by the same company or something along those lines, but the brick is literally exactly the same, apart from the branding. Here is REALME, while OnePlus will have, well, obviously OnePlus. Now this one, as you can see, it's a dash charger, comes at 30 watts max charging, so you'll get 30 watts, and apparently it's advertised that with this charger, I believe probably when the device is off, it will charge it to 70% in 30 minutes. Now I believe this is at the best circumstances, so when the device is off, plugged with their cable and stuff like that. So yeah. Now apart from that, there's only the SIM eject tool. I could actually take it out. There we go. As you can see, and that's about it. Nothing else in here. I'm gonna drop this stuff back in here, and we're gonna move to the phone itself now. So let's pop it in the view, and actually before we begin with the phone, let's also look at the case. So it's a nice flimsy case, although the edges of it are really rigid. Let's pop the phone in it. Now it is fairly hard. As you can see, the case fits perfectly. It does have a little bit of a lip around the camera, so it doesn't get scratched up when you place it. It protects the camera, so that's really nice. It also does this weird thing which I'm not a big fan of. If you look at it at an angle, you will see that there are these almost bumpers, lip to it, that will catch a lot of the things on here. Now this is so when you drop the phone on the screen, it basically has no way of being scratched. Well, the screen has no way of being scratched, so it protects the phone from that. But apart from that, it does add a little bit of a lip all around, and it doesn't feel as good in the hand because of it. I would say it always has, you have something that your finger will be catching on, and in my opinion it's a little bit annoying. Also, when you're using gesture navigation, sometimes it does interfere with it because of the fact that it does protrude a bit, as you can see. Hopefully you can get a good look, but usually you have to swipe from the bottom of the display, right? And when you're kind of swiping and you have the lip, it does prevent your finger from going from all the way to the bottom of the screen to get the good estimate of the swipe up gesture navigation. So sometimes it might not register it, and that's kind of why I'm not biggest fan of it. It will sometimes just mess around with the gesture navigations, which I am really used to and I really like using them. Apart from that, it's a fairly rigid case and it fits really snug on the device, as you can see. So yeah, now let's get it off and move on to the phone itself. So the phone comes with a 6.57-inch display, and it has 401 pixels per inch with the screen to body ratio of 83.9%. So as you can see, you do have fairly minimal bezels. You do have this little chin at the bottom, If I unlock it, probably will be a little bit better visible. There we go. So you do have a small chin at the bottom, and the only thing else is the hole punched camera. I honestly would really like to see a motorized one, personal preference. I don't really like anything getting in the way of display, even though for the past 2 years I've been using a notch from Huawei Mate 20 Pro, so that is one of the bigger ones. But yeah, when it comes down, I rather have nothing on there and just have a really symmetrical display instead of like having somewhere a hole punched camera. And as you can see, there's 2 of them actually, and while we're at the point of it, they come with 16 megapixel wide and 2 megapixel depth camera. So those are the 2 ones, and they do capture a fairly good detailed screenshots. There is no beautification and stuff like that. As you can see, I will now flip it over, and that's about as good as it can get. So you can see that it is fairly detailed. It does keep a lot of the detail in the photo. There is no beauty in it. Now, moving to the back, we have also a couple of 4 different sensors. So we have the 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, and 2 megapixel depth sensor. And all of that combined can shoot at 4K 30 or 1080p, 30 frames or 60. It also does slow motion, which I was really surprised at being a continuous slow motion. So as you've probably seen different devices, they usually do it that you press it, it records for about like 3 seconds and then makes 1 second into 10, at least in the more drastic cases. But rarely do I see phones with a continuous slow motion. Now this device, I'm happy to say, is one of those that actually decided to go continuous, and that does actually do the job really well. So we have 2 different resolutions. You have 1080p or with 120 20 frames, and you have 240 frames at 720p. So you drop resolution, gain more frames. Now I already went through a recording of this, so let me quickly backtrack to this. And this is one. This is the 240, and you can see it is really slow. It also, as you will see right about, if I move it a little bit, there we go. So one thing that I did see multiple times with the devices that do slow motion is they do some, I guess, AI slow motion, I would assume, or something like that. But because of it, the text, for instance, in the background gets all kind of distorted. It tries to, in a way, follow the fingers, and it looks really weird. This, as you can see, there is no such a thing going on here. Neither at 240, which you are seeing right now, or at 120. Just quickly move it forward. So this is 120. As you can see, there is also no distortion of text in the background, which, like I said, is sometimes prominent on different devices. And apart from that, I also did a couple of photos with it. As you can see, this is one. This is just with the photo mode, and there's this little figure right here. It is fairly small, so keep that in mind. The colors of it are a little bit off, as you will see right now. It's way deeper color on the photo than it is right here. It's like deep blue color, while this is, well, way lighter in a way. And apart from that, it does lose a little bit of detail in the hat area, and overall the shadows, the HDR is not too great. Like, you cannot basically see anything underneath here. But if you go with the 48 megapixel sensor, the entire picture just changes. So you do have way more detail in it. As you can see, the hat is more visible. It has a little bit more detail in it. Overall, the figure has, well, a little bit lighter tone to it, which is a tiny bit more accurate to what it actually looks like. And also, well, it retains a lot of the detail around it, and the shadows are more visible. So it does deal with lighting a little bit better. So if you're shooting some kind of photos, it looks like I would advise to go with the 48 pixel. It might lack some kind of stabilizations, so you will need to have a really steady hand most likely for it, as I think it is as I've seen in the past, but if you can keep your hand steady, the photos will come out better than they do on the normal photo mode. So I just quit this, and you also have a night mode. Now night mode was not really testable for me. This is what I did. I did turn off the light, and that was the environment that I took it in. As you can see, that's kind of how it looked like, the position of it, and that's how the photo came out. So it is fairly bright, as you can see. There's also a decent amount of detail in it, even specifically, for instance, in here. I think it just didn't really bother catching focus on this area. That's why we have so much of it in this area at the bottom. Also, as you can see, you can basically see the grain of the desk, which almost, to me, it looks fairly smooth. Here you can clearly see that it is not. Now, apart from the boring camera stuff that I've been talking for the past 10 or 20 minutes, there's other parts to the phone itself. So let's move past that. Now the device comes with 6 or 8 GB RAM version. Personally, I advise you to go with the 8. It's better to future-proof. The phones will probably need more RAMs in the future, and if you're planning to keep it for at least like 2 years, this will be a good way to future-proof for it. Now, unfortunately, the phone only comes with 128 GB storage, and there is no way of expanding the storage via SD card or getting a bigger one. So you're kind of stuck with the 128 version of it, which is a little bit of a shame if you really like to store stuff on your phone. I'm personally one of those people that basically has a backup of his computer on the phone, which this phone would not be able to do so. So yeah. Now also, when it comes down to specs of it, it comes with a Snapdragon 765G, so not the top of the line, don't expect it, but it does do a fairly decent job. And also it comes with 120 Hz refresh rate, and now this part will not be visible on a camera, unfortunately, so you just have to, I guess, take my word for it. But if you have the phone, you can simply enable it in the settings. Just search for refresh rate and it will pop up with 120. Go there and change it to 120. By default, I think it's set to auto, which is based on battery level and what you're doing. And you should be able to see a decent smoothness increase in just overall everything. So as you can see, well, not really as you can see, you can't really see this, but the settings move super smooth. It's kind of a weird experience if you're not used to it. If you really want to see how the difference between it, I would advise you to stick in the settings, have it at 60, move up and down in the settings, and then switch it to 120 and again do the same. And you will see a drastic difference in how smooth it looks like. And also, apart from the nice 120 Hz refresh rate, which apparently something like Note 20 will not have, it does come with a 4200 mAh battery, so just a typical battery, and also, like I said before, the 30-watt charger. And apart from that, it has 2 different colors. So if we flip it over, because you haven't seen the back yet, you have the protrusion of the camera right here, and this I believe it's the ice silver. At least there's only 2 color options. We have the ice silver and jungle green. Now this doesn't look like green to me, so I assume it's the ice silver, and it does look really nice. It also has this weird effect to it. Now, so take it, you can see that it does do this weird stuff. Normally this would be, if you're wondering what this reflection is, it's basically just the spotlight above me. It looks like this normally. So on here you can see that it does kind of weird stuff with it. It looks really nice, honestly, when you're holding it. Without the light, it kind of looks like a normal silverish color, but in light it does start doing this weird like light reflection where it doesn't really look smooth, honestly, on the reflection. But it does look nice. Now, also, as you just seen, it is a absurd finger magnet. Any kind of touches to it will leave a fingerprint on it. So if you're not really a fan of having your phone look like a FBI case with fingerprints everywhere on it, I would probably advise you to get a case on it. Other than that, you just have to get used to. Although just a simple pop in into the packet and out of it, and it seems to do the trick of getting it completely cleaned. So that's the display also. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the display does come with a protection pre-installed on it, so you don't have to buy your own. Now this won't be any kind of like tempered glass or anything, it's just some kind of plasticky stuff on it, but it's still the fact that the manufacturer decided to include this is a nice touch, which I do appreciate a lot. And also, as you can see, on the side we have a fingerprint sensor that doubles as a power button, as you can see. Now normally if I would actually have a fingerprint at it, if I press it, it automatically unlocks it. It doesn't go just to the lock screen right here. And then on the left side we have the volume rockers. On the bottom we only have a charging port along with the speaker grills, and it does have the double SIM tray on the bottom. And at the top you have basically nothing apart from the microphone. As you can see, the phone is lacking a headphone jack, so if you really wanted some kind of headphones with this, wired ones, you're out of luck with this specific model of the phone. I do believe other ones that I have done recently, I just don't remember the name of them, but also REALME did have headphone jacks. This one doesn't though. So like I said, if you rely on headphone jack, you're kind of screwed. You would have to, the only way you can get a headphone jack on here is with a dongle from type C to the headphone jack. Other than that, there is no other way. Well, then wireless headphones obviously. And yeah, also the device comes with an Android 10, kind of expected from a device that has been released in July 2020. And it has their, what is it, REALME UI 1.0, something like that, I believe. So yeah, and all that that I was talking about comes with the price range of about $230. So keep in mind that this price may vary a little bit depending when you buy it and where you're looking for it. So yeah, but I believe 230 should be somewhere like normal price tag for it. And judging by that price tag, it is in a way mid-range device, and it does exceed the mid-range expectations, I would say. It has a nice refresh rate, decent battery, a nice charger, honestly, decent specifications, although I would really like to have a SD card. I'm willing to live without it for this price range, honestly. The cameras are really good. They don't do any beautifications, and the display, apart from it being IPS, it is fairly good display with decent resolution and just overall decent specs to it. I really am a fan of the 120 Hz refresh rates, and this mid-range device decides to basically pack it in there, even though it's mid-range. So real thumbs up for that. I'm a real fan of that. And yeah, I guess that would finish up the overview of the device. Just to conclude it, I would say this device is most certainly worth purchasing if you're looking for a really good mid-range phone, mid-range price, honestly, that does everything that you would expect it to do really well. For the price that you pay, it does everything, in my opinion, really well. The only con that I have against it is the REALME UI. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. It does kind of look a little bit weird. Their icons, some of them are just not my taste, honestly, but that is just a personal preference. If you don't mind it, then there shouldn't be any kind of reason for you not to get this device if you're really looking for a budget device. And also, as you can see, it does try to keep it, I would say, as stock as possible. It is missing a little bit of the mark of the stock, but it does look really close to the stock Android. The only thing I would say is just the icons of like the notification center, as you can see, and simply the settings page right here. Other than that, it does resemble stock Android fairly well. And also has this weird little thing on the side. So you can see you have a couple of shortcuts that you can access, which I believe normal Android doesn't have. But yeah, so if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.